Hey, good evening, everybody. So, happy Tuesday, the 20th of January, 2026 already. It's amazing how fast this stuff goes by. uh, so, I see Red Sense and Rick are on the chat. Hey, guys, welcome. And Wrench says called me out on my red line on my logo, and he's right. It is only 4,000 RPM, and it's kind of sucks. I need to figure out how to make a new one, but it was just something I made in a hurry, actually a couple years ago, and I just kept using it. Never really got back to it. Probably the same kind of thing is why I've got so many videos in the file that haven't been edited yet and produced. So hopefully I can get some of this stuff done soon. I need to get some new new content on there. Oh, I appreciate that, for instance. If you want to do that, I haven't really used any of that AI stuff yet. I don't know if I'm. I guess I'm way behind on all that, but I guess that like GPT is supposed to be pretty good. The whole AI thing kind of freaks me out a bit because now you see in social media, everybody's making videos that aren't even real. You can usually tell, but that's crazy. Redline, I mean, I'd say 8,000 RPM, something like that, right? Any LS can go to $7,000, so that would be a really good number. 7 with a top at 8, that'd be pretty cool. So yeah, so last week went by really quick. Went out of town. For you guys that follow on the channel, I never really did a walk around on my property, but I've got a small parking area on the side of the building, and I usually keep my truck camper all the way in the back, and then it's usually blocked in by some trailers. Right now, currently, it's blocked in by the Papa Smurf Jr. trailer, which is a 38-footer, and so to get the camper out, it's a lot of work. I got to do a huge shuffle. I got cars out in the driveway, mainly the Vet Hawk. So I had to get the casters out and spin that car around and get trailers moved and move other stuff. But we went, got the camper out and we went camping up at our cousin's Thursday. Came back late Saturday. Had a good time with family. And then as soon as I got back Saturday night, had to get the Scott's Buick Skylark prepped up and get ready because we went to the Cool Wheels car show early Sunday morning. We all met at 7 and cruised down to Deerfield, and we went to that show. So I got a little video to show you from that. Hey Ryan, how you doing? But what I was hoping to get time to do was to get back on the T-type, and which is all going to be all wiring. So I thought it'd be a good time to start off a series in wiring again, and this time hopefully I'll be able to put more content in the title so that they'll be easier to find in the future for reference. The last time we did some stuff on wiring, it was quite a while ago, and I don't even think it was it was in the description but not in the title. So I'm trying to get much better with all that stuff. So yesterday I had to unload the camper and all that. I will be putting the camper for sale. If you guys know anybody looking for a nice all four season truck camper with a slide out, I'm gonna be putting it for sale, and even if a person wanted, my dually could go with it. So trying to get all of our ducks in a row to pick up that nice diesel pusher that I want to move into. So I've already got one lined up. I just have to move some stuff around to get it to happen, get that happening. But that'll be fun. Talk to some people about the Cup car. We're trying to get that thing finalized and get it sold. I didn't get any video on, but we did have an issue with Scott's Skylark that has brackets on a G-body rear end for the disc brakes. And if any of you guys know G-body rear ends, the wheel cylinder goes through the top of the axle housing end, and there's really no, and then there's only two little 6mm bolts to hold the backing plate on. Plus, it goes through the wheel cylinder. So he has a set of brackets that I designed a long time ago, and it uses the big bolt and the two 6mm. And for whatever reason, either the bolts we installed a while back were the wrong grade or weren't tight. It's hard to say. It was done a couple years ago. One of the calipers came, sheared the bolts and came off the housing, so we got to work on that. Hey Chris, how you doing? So yeah, so that's I gotta get that going this week and get back on the T-type. I did some preliminary stuff. I didn't film anything today, but tomorrow I gotta be out of the shop and do some alignments. So I won't get anything probably too much done tomorrow, but Thursday I'll be back on that thing hot and heavy and get that done, and I should know what direction we're going to go with the Cup car after that. I talked to a guy, a local car club guy here in South Florida at Daytona Turkey Rod Run, and he showed interest in the car, but I never heard from him again. I saw him at the show this weekend, and he says he definitely is interested. We just never got a chance to swap phone numbers and stuff like that. But he wants the car street legal. So I was going to try to call him today, but I ran out of time. So I'm going to call him tomorrow afternoon, and we're going to discuss exactly what he wants and a large deposit. Maybe the entire price of the car needs to be paid in full before I start modifying the car, because that is definitely going in a different direction than what I had planned for the car to sell. But we'll see how that goes. I don't want to, I'm not going to think too much about it until we actually have some money change hands. But otherwise, hopefully by the weekend, that car will be up, plastered all over the internet for sale. So we'll see what happens with all that this week. So, yeah, but my buddy Doug and Jonathan and Chuck and Scott and I cruised down to the Cool Wheel show, and it was a good time. Unfortunately, we did run into some rain, so it kind of shortened it and kind of got me messed up with the filming. But I did get some pretty cool cars, I think, and get that. What time is it now? 8 minutes. Well, we'll wait a couple more minutes, but we'll get that shown, and it was a pretty good show. A little smaller than it has been in the past, but good show nevertheless. Did run into a lot more people this year at that show than I did at the other shows, where normally, normally at the Darrell Gwynn show, and normally run into people, racers, customers, friends, etc., that you only see maybe once or twice a year. So that was a little light this year. So it kind of made up for it at Cool Wheels, because it was actually pretty hard and sometimes for filming, because got caught up in conversations and stuff, and next thing you know, time's flying by. So, but it was a great show. I had a good time, and it was really fun. So, and we got to cruise the cars. That's something that I haven't been able to do in quite a while. So it was really nice to be able to go out and and cruise down the road, all these hot rods together. It's a lot of fun. So let me bring up this got a short little video. Hopefully it's worked out, because I had to cut all the sound, all the background sound out of it. Let's see here. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So this is again raw footage. I've done some editing here because I had to cut all the music out of it. But this is kind of what's going to be in the content video when I do finally get around to finishing that. So let me go ahead and cue this up. Okay. Stop this here. I don't know how many of you guys watch Full Custom with Ian Russell. This is the original Space Junkie car that Ian built, and I guess the story goes he built it and he took it apart and put this paint scheme on it, and then took it apart again to get parts for another project, and ended up selling the car. A person in South Carolina ended up, as far as I know the story goes, the guy in South Carolina got it, maybe North Carolina, and then he and Ian put the car back together again, and he took it farther than Ian had. As you can see now, it's got full interior in it, and now a guy in Wellington, Florida owns the car. So just wanted to, pretty cool to see a TV car out in your local car show. Yeah, so that was what I got filmed. In fact, I didn't even get our own cars in the video. With talking with friends and running into people you haven't seen in a while, and then we had a couple sporadic showers that lasted 20-30 minutes, and then they went into awards kind of early to kind of let everybody get out of there. So kind of shortened the day up and didn't quite give me enough time to get everything I wanted to film. That's only a very small portion. I don't know what the count was this year. Last year they had 1,270 cars. I think this year was a little lighter. I think it was probably closer to 800 or 900 cars this year. But overall, a really good show. I filmed this one with my GoPro instead of using the regular DSLR, and it did work better. And I had brought my gimbal mount to use it, but I didn't use it. I brought it with me, but I did not use it. So unfortunately, there's a couple spots there where my fingers were too close to the lens and stuff, and reminds me now on the GoPro that I have to go in a little deeper to get the close-ups and stuff, where the regular digital camera gets has a lot more zoom built into it. But it was a good show overall, and hopefully you guys like that. Rick is right. Our buddy Gramps used to say that all the time. The only thing wrong with this car is the name on the title. Rest in peace, Gramps. He was a fun guy. We used to do a lot of cruising with his 55 and stuff. Wrench then says, when I got Minneapolis back in the 50s, I got cross-eyed after a couple hours. Almost too many cars. Yeah. There's the big shows. I mean, last year, it was like 2 years ago, Scott and I drove up to Columbus Good Guys, and there was that weekend another event that got a lot of rain, so it didn't have the car turnout, but it was that was a good show. Over 5,000 cars. Yeah, back in the 50s. That was a long time ago. So so this year, Scott and I have it planned. We'll see how it all works out, but we have it planned that we're going to go to a Back to the 50s show. Okay, I thought that's what you were talking about. But yeah, in August, we're going to go to the NSRA, National Street Rod Association's Louisville show. We've been told that at that show, easily 12,000 cars or 12,000 vehicles. So our plan is to go up there, go to that show, take a couple cars. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to take yet. And then we're going to find a place to store the vehicles for a month, fly home, and then fly back up, and then do the 1 hour drive to Bowling Green for the LS Fest in Bowling Green. So that's one of our big plans for this year. Of course, Scott's done cruising the coast a couple of years in a row. I have not gone with him yet, so we are going to try to make that show again. That show this year. It's another show that there's easily 10,000 plus cars. Now, of course, at Cruising the Coast, they have different venues every day. It's a whole week show, and so there's a lot of people cruising in between. It's all along the coast, Mississippi and Louisiana. So there's a lot of cruising from show to show, because they'll have a morning place and an afternoon place in 3 different cities. So everybody goes back and forth, and so a lot of people will just get a spot on the side of the road and just film cars or take pictures of cars going by. So it's a really big show, but you're not going to have the large cluster of cars all in one location. So I'm not sure how we're going to work the Louisville show, having 12,000 possibility of 12,000 cars all in one spot. So that's going to be tough. And probably like I did it at Bowling Green, is I had to go pretty much just go and get a large variety of cars that were in different areas. There's no way you can get film on all those vehicles. But there was a bunch at the show that I wanted to get at Cool Wheels. I just didn't make it. I didn't get the second and third place winners in the show. Space Junkie did win Best in Show this year. And one of the cool things about Cool Wheels is all their promotional information, all their handouts, and then the T-shirts of that show are all have last year's winner on it. So it's pretty cool that if you get Best of Show, all the hands out and all the advertising and all the T-shirts the following year is going to have your car on it. So it's a pretty exclusive thing, and it's great. The show benefits the YATC, and that's a youth automotive training a school that the Moran family put together. So really good, a good benefit and a great show, and just a lot of fun. So that was pretty much Sunday's deal. And of course, when we were heading home, that's when the caliper broke on Scott's car. The caliper mount broke on Scott's car, so I had to run home and shuffle cars and get a trailer empty to go down and get it. I have not got it back in the shop yet. I'm going to try to do that on Thursday to get it back moving. And then I got to get my buddy Jonathan to give it a drive. The transmission has a shutter. The vibrations are gone with the new flex plate and all that stuff. The engine runs really good as far as that goes. But there is a shutter in the driveline, probably from the transmission. Again, if anybody wasn't in the show last week, that car was built with a lot of used parts that were installed before I got involved in that build. So the transmission is a junkyard piece, and so it probably has some burnt clutches or something in it. Plus the fact that it's a 700 R4 out of a 4-cylinder, small bell housing, and now it's behind a V8. So, and not that 215 has a lot of horsepower, but we'll see where we're going to go with that. I'm going to get Jonathan to drive it, try to diagnose the shutter, and then Scott will have to come up with an idea what he wants to do. We have an oil pressure issue with that motor also, which I've done a bunch of research yesterday, and it seems to be a common problem on the 215 and the 300 Buicks. The big deal there is the valve train are shaft-mounted rockers, kind of like your Chrysler products are, but there's no oil coming through the push rods. The push rods are solid. So what they did was they drilled a hole through the head down to the cam bearing, like a Ford FE engine, if anybody's had a Ford FE apart, and they have shaft mounts rockers in them too. So you've got normally all your oiling goes to your main rods and cam bearings, and then fills the lifters, and then from there the lifters lubricate the top end. But being they're going through the lifters and in oil all the time, it kind of has a stopping point of how much volume of oil the engine needs. This engine, however, goes through the rods and mains and cam bearing, and then up through this large passage into the cylinder head to feed the entire shaft mount rocker. So if the shaft mount rockers are worn, you'll have a lot of oil leakage there. And being that the passageway in the head to the cam bearing is almost about 180 thousandths in diameter, it's a large amount of oil going through there. Plus the shaft mount is a half-inch shaft, and it's hollow, so it's full of oil also. So there's a lot of places where you can lose your oil pressure at low engine speeds, and that's what this thing's doing. Unfortunately, I did not rebuild the engine when I did the crankshaft. All I did was pull it apart. The bearings look good, and I put it back together. I should have done some bearing measurements, but I never pulled the cam out of the engine. and never really checked the valve train because the engine was quote unquote a good running engine. So we'll make some decisions what we're going to do that. Scott has already hinted that maybe we'll do an LS swap to that also, because he loves the LS Fest, as do I. It's one of the best shows that have racing included. So they have drag racing, they have autocross, they have road course. So it has a lot of good stuff in there, and Scott likes to have cars to go up there because it's got to be LS powered. I see Wrench says no. Well, the good thing is if we do an LS swap in it, it's going to be an all aluminum block LS, so it'll still be an all aluminum V8 engine in the car. So we'll kind of hold true to that. But yeah, Scott unfortunately was a little disappointed. He drove the car Sunday, really the first time he's driven the car any distance, and he was kind of disappointed in the performance, and for whatever reason he just didn't wrap his head around the fact that it's only a 215 cubic inch engine with a 300 crank in it. So it's only 266 inches. It's not, it doesn't have very large cylinder heads on it. It's really not a performance engine. And he's trying to compare it to all of his other cars that are either LS powered or Gen 1 small block, 350, 290, 350 horse 350s. So yeah, that car's not going to perform like the other ones did. So we'll see. I mean, I kind of would like to see if we could fix the motor and go that way too. That'd be cool. But we'll see how that all pans out in the future. So yeah, they do look ugly under the hood. But you can dress them up, I got the LS in the Cup car is pretty good with the Ford valve covers and my fake design distributor with all the coils hidden and everything, carburetor style intake. It does throw people off. That was one of them that I did that to take that car to LS Fest, and that was one of the things that a lot of people came by and like, how did you get a Ford small block into LS Fest? And then when I told them it was an LS, they were shocked and then wanted me to point out how that could be. Now, of course, the astute LS person would notice the shape of the water pump, the loop on the heater hoses, a couple telltale signs that you can tell it's definitely an LS. I didn't go crazy, but But anyway, so that was pretty much the show. So what I wanted to do tonight, and we'll just kind of brush on this. We're not gonna. I don't want to get super deep into it tonight because I titled this this show for the Cool Wheel show. But I definitely want to get back in the wiring. When we went through the wiring section a long while ago, probably about 70 shows ago, back then I wasn't putting any information in the titles. So, if you didn't go through and read every description of every video, which I wouldn't blame anybody for not doing that, you wouldn't know they were there. So now I want to go back through and kind of make better what I did before, the information I did before, get out more information, and we'll go from there. So a couple of things I wanted to go over here. So the first thing is I kind of cheated and I got some quick analysis of different types of wiring and stuff. So let me bring up the screen. So when you guys are going to get wire for your car to wire in some kind of device, it's good to know what kind of wire you're using. There's tons of different kinds of wires out there, and you want something that's going to be that can handle being in a car, and oil and fuel resistant and all those kind of things. And you have to watch a lot of the cheaper wire. I mean, definitely anything you buy at Harbor Freight or most other part stores, any of the big chain part stores, that wiring is going to be more of a PVC insulated wire, really not a very durable wire for automotive use. Obviously, it can be used for sure in tight, when you got an emergency or something. But so most of your primary wiring is going to be in this. It says 18 to 10 gauge wire, but actually fuel injection will use all the way down to 24 gauge. So the bigger the number, the smaller the wiring is. So it kind of works backwards. So a 10 gauge wire would be like your typical 60s, 70s alternator wire. So it's a pretty heavy looking wire. And then obviously you get into the 18s, 24 gauge, you get into some really finite stuff. So the stuff you want to use is going to be the cross-link polyethylene wiring. It's a very durable insulation. It'll withstand heat, and it works very good in engine bays. It has really good resistance to most of your chemicals that are in a car. So you've got different ones. TXL, which is an ultra thin insulation, and it's a lightweight. There's actually Tefl. That's probably not how it's Tezel. That your high-end wiring harness race car guys would use. That's even thinner than TXL, but this is more of your generally accepted, easily to purchase types of wire. So TXL is the ultra thin insulation, and it's really good for harnesses, and it's pretty much all I use in my shop. I will use some GXL on the heavier size wire, especially something that's got to go. It's maybe not be in such a large bundle of wiring where it could be exposed more. Like a good place for the GXL would be your alternator wire, your starter solenoid wire, stuff like that. And so that works pretty good. And then you got the SXL, which is a thicker insulation. And you see that a lot of times on boats. You'll see some of the GXL on boats, but mainly it's SXL, and that's because a lot of the harnesses in boats and in big trucks and stuff aren't in, or the wiring isn't in a harness. It's all exposed wiring, and so the thicker insulation, thicker wall insulation will give it more robust for abrasion and stuff like that. So that's more of a heavy duty stuff. So those are the three harnesses. If you're going to look at buying a wiring harness kit or a wiring harness for your car, you want to find out if it's one of those three types of wiring, and that'll tell you what kind of grade you are. Painless wiring harnesses are all TXL. You're correct. You can tell the quality of a wiring harness company, kit company, by finding out what grade wire they're giving you. So your PVC insulated wiring is your cost effective. It has a much lower melting rate on a melting point on the insulation. A lot of times oil and fuels and other chemicals will make this stuff get really spongy or gooey. It's not not really good for any of that stuff. And here in this application, they said the GPT is general purpose. They use that a lot of times in trailers, and it's found mostly in parts stores. And then you got the TWP, which is a lightweight, thin PVC. It's more flexible, but again, it's PVC coating. And then you got the HDT, which is heavy duty. It's the thickest PVC wall for abrasion. But I myself, if I'm wiring my own car or somebody else's car, I would not want to use the PVC insulated if I can. Like I said, in an emergency situation, there's, I understand wanting to use something like that, but it's not really a good product. And this is just something that, I wanted to get this out because a lot of people don't know that there's different kinds of wiring out there. You just think you go to the parts store, no, it's in a parts store, it should be good wiring. There could be some good, but you have to definitely check to find out what it is. And if it's a PVC insulated, I would try to stay away from that. And like I said, TXL is what I prefer to use. It's very lightweight and works really well. Out of here, so I have another section, and that's battery cables. And I didn't get a chance to get all the data and information I wanted to get, but let me bring this little list up that I made. So with your basic cables, you got your battery cables, which of course if you're buying your battery cables from a parts store and you're buying pre-made battery cables, they're going to be a PVC jacketed wire. It says here that it's resistant to oil and acid, but I guess it is when it's on a battery cable because it's a much thicker liner than what the primary wiring is. But I really don't like using it. But a battery cable, especially automotive battery cables, you'll find the strands are very thick copper strands. So that makes the cable very stiff and less flexible. And of course, you use the battery cables to connect to the starter in general automotive power. And typically it's rated for voltages lower than 60 volts. So when I get battery cable, I buy it in bulk, and I usually get stuff that's got the EPDM covering on it, which is what they would consider most of your welding cable. Hey John, how you doing? So with the welding cable, it's going to have finer strands, and it's a lot more flexible. And it'll have, because of the smaller strands, they can pack them in the cable better, so there's more copper cable per foot. So, and that goes back, and I'll show you in a minute here, when we look at length of cable and amperage draw, or amperage rating. The finer strands do work better. The thick copper strand battery cables that you buy at a parts store, they're good for what they are. For when the battery is mounted very close to the starter, and you only need a 3-foot cable, and it's all a 2-foot cable, and it's only a 4 gauge, and it'll work because it's turning over a motor with 6-to-1 compression or 8-to-1 compression, whatever it is. That works fine. But when you're building a hot rod, you're going to have probably a pretty high performance engine. You're going to have some steeper compression. You're going to need better cranking speeds, less voltage drop in your cable. You'd want to go to more like a welding cable style. Now this is very generic, but you'd want to rate that by how many strands it has. So the welding cable has the finer strands. The insulation is EPDM or neoprene, which is highly durable and very resistant to oil and other chemicals, and is flame retardant, which is pretty important. You don't want your battery cables melting, and that's one of the reasons I don't like the PVC, because it is not very good for fire retardant. And because it's highly flexible and it can take high current and high voltage applications, it's really good for especially for mounting batteries in the trunk, where you're going to have to run 12 to 14 feet of battery cable. Most of the cars I do, we don't want the battery cables underneath the car, so I run them through the rockers in the car. So being highly flexible is extremely important, because I got to move it through small holes in the body and get it through all these different layers of stuff, and it's got to make tight bends, and it just makes it much easier to do. Now here they got the stereo cable for your power, not your speaker wire, but your actually battery cables for like amplifiers and stuff like that. So here they have a very fine strand of copper. The thing I don't like about stereo cables, and I try not to ever use them, is that like when you cut the casing, the insulation off, you usually take a bunch of the copper lines with you because the strands are so fine, they're like hair, the diameter of hair. So they just, when you go around with the razor blade, it just takes the outer layer completely off. It is very soft and flexible jacket, but it's often made from PVC. So again, now it doesn't have all the durability that a neoprene or EPDME would have. So it makes it very good to route, but it's just not durable to heat and chemicals like welding cable. The uses of it are for car audio, power, and ground because of the easy routing and in cramped quarters, and because of the very fine wire and the see-through or often PVC coatings, the cable can and the covering can melt, become goo under extreme heat in shorts compared to welding cable. So again, it just makes it undesirable. So try not to if you're looking for welding cable, try not to, or battery cable for your car, try to stay away from the speaker stereo cable stuff. It's just really not very good. I've seen it where you get, I've had cars come in that have had the battery stereo cable in it working fine. They got a 1/0 cable, it's a huge cable, but you peel the covering off and half of the strands in the copper have got green on them, where they've actually gotten corrosion wicking into the harnesses. I don't know if it's because the soft coverings are not very water resistant or whatever, but they've gotten humidity or water intrusion or chemical intrusion into the harnesses, and now whenever you see copper with green on it, it's got corrosion. That cable's no good. It's going to have so much resistance in it, and there's going to be so much voltage drop that it's going to, not become, it won't be any good. So try to find a fine strand, but more of a welding cable type application for that. And I'll try to get some more data on that. So the last thing I wanted to show you guys is this is a wire sizing chart. Now this is important, because this is going to help you figure out what you need to do. So on our left side, we got system amperages, and that's how many amps are going to be used in your harness. Now, this harness is set up for a 12-volt system, and for a minimum amount of voltage drop. So, say you have a cooling fan. The cooling fan's a 25 amp rated fan. You can go down this list and you can see that if you're only 24 inches from your relay to your fan, you can get away with a 14 gauge, even at 48 inches. But then at 72 inches, so that would be including your power wire to your relay, then your relay to your fan, you better up it to 12 gauge. And as the lengths get longer, the gauge gets higher. Now this is a minimum chart. It's not the maximum. This is the minimum that you should be using. Wrench says is also soy-based insulation invites mice to chew. And yes, you're right. That's a big problem. I haven't seen it too bad down here in Florida. Although I have had some cars that had it, but yeah, definitely if you live in a rural area where field mice and other small critters like that are around your area, it can definitely become a big problem. So you want to stay away from that stuff if you can. But going back to this wiring size chart, if you go back to your like starters and stuff like that, you can see 250 amp starter draw, which on a performance motor it can happen pretty easily. So at 24 inches, a 6 gauge wire would be sufficient. and then at 48 it goes to 4 gauge. Now if you're going to your trunk, you can see that they're calling for a 1/0 cable. So you can see that as the wire gets longer, it needs to step up. So same thing with anything. So if you buy a wiring harness kit, and you're going to power up some fans, or you buy a fuel injection kit and you got your main power up connectors, or you want to put a junction box in a car, you can see anything like that where you're going to come off the battery and go a distance and then to a fuse box or something like that. A chart like this is very helpful to make sure that you get the right size wiring, so that you're not going to have voltage drop problems, and stuff like that. So these charts are all over the internet. Some will be like 80%. This is what size cable you need for 80% load, and stuff like that. You just have to look and kind of get a chart and see what you're using. Now, going back to that starter draw, typically a starter draw will normally be about 150. Once you might see a 250 surge, but cranking will be about 150. Now, another thing is, you got an old car, it had a generator on it, or it had an early 12-volt system with an alternator, and you had a 50, 60 amp alternator. Well, obviously, if you got electric fans, maybe electric water pump, electric fuel pump, AC, stereo with amps, that 60 to 100 amp alternator is not going to do the job anymore. You're not going to keep enough amperage to run all the components and to recharge the battery. So you're going to have to upgrade the alternator. So when you upgrade the alternator, you can't buy a 150 or a 200 amp or even bigger amp alternator, put it on your car, and use your old original 10 gauge battery wire that came from the manufacturer in that car. You have to upgrade it. So again, this chart will help you with that. Typically, I run anytime I'm running a 150 or 130 or more amp, I will, and it's a fairly short distance. If I'm mimicking the stock wiring harness, so from the alternator to the battery post lug on the starter, that's typically where most manufacturers will run the alternator wire, because that's closest to the big cable back to the battery. I'll run a 6 or an 8 gauge, so that I know I have a lot of amperage. And instead of using the fusible link wiring, I like to use the big high amp fuses. Just the three letter designation just lost, but basically a maxi fuse. You can get maxi fuse holders, and you can get those fuses up into the 250 amp range. And what we'll go over in the next couple weeks is, it's good to overkill everything, but you don't want to double overkill everything. And what I mean is you've got a 160 amp alternator, and you're going to run that to your battery or to the battery lug, where your battery cable goes to maybe the starter or whatever. You don't want to put a 250 amp fuse on that circuit. If the alternator is putting out 160, you want to have about a 180 or 200 amp fuse in there, so that if it goes above, the load goes above what the alternator can produce, that would become a malfunction or a short, and you want the fuse to pop, to stop, so you save you from having a fire. So it goes the same as anything else. When you're A&L, thank you, John. Anything else you wire up in your car, whenever you're doing any of this stuff, just like if you were, a lot of people haven't wired a house or anything, but what you have to do is you need to look at all your components, right? Make a list. Cooling fan, 1 or 2. I got transmission cooler with a fan, another fan. Air conditioning compressor, air conditioning blower motor, amplifier for the stereo, ECU power, all the different components that are going to require amperage. You write them all down. You go to the manufacturer. You find out what the amperage requirement is for that component, and that tells you where you need to be with your battery cables and with your alternator. You want to make sure you have enough alternator that you can run with everything on and still have enough to put a little back into the battery. Now, when so if you have 130 amps worth of components in your car, a 150 amp alternator would work fine, because you could have everything on, all the fans, all your AC, all your lights, all that stuff is all on, and you still have 20 amps when the alternator goes full load to still recharge your battery. The worst thing you want to do is have a 130 amps of load and only have a 70 amp alternator, because now you're going to be driving and you're going to be pulling the battery down, and the farther you drive, the more the battery is going to go down, and eventually it's going to leave you stranded. So those are the things that we're going to go over in the next couple of weeks as we go through this. I want to go more in depth with the wiring and crimps and tools and all that stuff. And when I go ahead and lay out this wiring harness for the T-type, I'll show you how I do that. For you guys that been watching the podcast for a long time, you've seen some of this stuff in the past, but we're gonna kind of go over it again, and hopefully this time I'll even do a better job at, because now we've already got a lot of the data and stuff, and give me an opportunity to get a little bit more in depth and try to keep it spread out so it's not too much information all at one shot. But I think that's going to do it for tonight. This was just like a forecast of what we will be talking about next week. So if you are into wiring, or you want to do more wiring in your car, or wiring scares you, the next couple shows are going to be great, because that's what I'm going to show you, is that not to be scared of it. It just takes a little bit of planning, just like anything else. If you're going to build a race engine, you're going to do the proper planning to figure out what pistons you need, what crank, what stroke, where the pin location is, for the proper connecting rod, the material in rings, the material your valves are, all those things. You're going to put all that information together before you start buying parts. Well, this is the same thing with the wiring. You're going to start making lists, and then start doing your due diligence and figuring out what components you need, and then you can start purchasing your product. And at the end of the day, it's going to make it very easy to do. So it's not scary at all. So that's what I want to end up with. And when we're done with wiring, you're going to be 2 thumbs up. You're ready to go, and you're ready to attack a wiring job. So thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and pull the plug on tonight. I really appreciate everybody coming out and watching and listening and all that stuff. If you guys come up with any questions or anything, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I'm on top of those as much as I can, and we'll get some stuff going for next week. So if you got any ideas, or you have questions, write them down and bring them with you for next week. So thanks for interest. Yes, hit the likes, subscribe, share, all that happy stuff. I really appreciate it all, and we'll see you all next week. Have a great week. See ya.